Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to answer some questions about the Wheel of Time Season 2 finale. Some of these were taken from my comment section, ranging from how did Egwene defeat Ishamael, how did Rand kill Ishamael, how did Moghedien overpower Lanfear, and what happens now that Rand has been proclaimed the Dragon Reborn, and a few others. Because the show has changed some things, it might be unclear, especially while comparing books to show. But if you like these videos, let me know by liking this one and subscribing to the channel. So let's begin. Question number 1. How could Egwene overpower Ishamael? This is a fun one because of all the factors involved, and the simple answer is she didn't. But the storyline itself is a bit confusing, and in the rush of moving from multiple points of view, it becomes a bit harder to concretely explain what exactly happened. But here are a couple observations and theories when we look at all the moments involved. First, looking at Egwene, she does possess significant raw power, but she's obviously struggling holding the shield. Earlier in the episode, when she tries an offensive approach, Ishamael tosses her like a rag doll. But in the Wheel of Time, defensive weaves are often used as a strategic approach when facing a stronger opponent. In the books, Egwene excels in creating multiple weaves. One in particular is called Hardened Air, and it can be manipulated many ways, like how Swan Sanche used it to make those cool projectiles in the show, but also as a bridge to walk over something. What happened in the finale is that Egwene took a simple weave and made it complex, and this is something important to her personal talents. She can weave dozens of threads. You can see the many flows like the rings of a tree as she's reinforcing it, packing it really tight. She's just holding up a shield to buy time and struggling immensely. Another thing to mention is that Ishamael isn't trying to kill her or Rand. It's possible Ishamael was just waiting for her to run out of energy to overpower her, and once she was spent, continue forward with his plan, threatening her in an attempt that Rand will switch sides. At this point, Rand is still shielded, and Ishamael is trying to get out the signal for Suroth's Damani to gentle Rand. It's also important to note that Ishamael brought his plan to gentle Rand up after doing a very certain thing, breaking the Forsaken out of their seals. At this point, there are 6 Forsaken still trapped, so busting them out could have left him weakened. Massive uses of the true power have side effects like deformities and insanity, and considering how level-headed he is, he most likely channeled the one power, exhausting his energy expenditure. Overall, I don't think this is Egwene overpowering Ishamael, just her using a tactic to stall him, and she struggles the entire time. At the end, Egwene apologizes to Rand, which I interpreted as knowing she can't hold the shield any longer. But then Perrin joins her with Uno's shield that seems to retain some magical properties. Then once Rand joins her, she visibly relaxes. So we have to factor in that it was a group effort. On to the next question. How did Rand kill Ishamael? As we've seen in a previous episode, the Forsaken aren't easy to kill. When Moiraine stabs Lanfear through the chest and cuts her throat, it only slows her down. So how did Ishamael die? The answer is that when Rand stabbed Ishamael, not only did he pierce his heart, but he channeled into the sword. He channeled so much of the one power that the blade of his sword was white hot. So it appears that there are 2 major differences here. Lanfear was most likely not fully dead before the Dark One intervened and healed her. And Ishamael died almost instantly, not leaving any chance to be healed. He was also killed by channeling and stabbing. The other explanation could be that Ishamael wanted to die, therefore he wasn't saved, and that the Dark One has other plans for him. Another theory out there is that Ishamael's death was another illusion. I'm not sure this is the case, but one could argue. Lanfear was chosen to be resurrected, and Ishamael wasn't. Moving on. How did Moghedien overpower Lanfear? Lanfear possesses the most amount of raw power that is available for a woman to channel, and Moghedien sits somewhere between Lanfear and Egwene in terms of strength. The key to overpowering someone like Lanfear comes down to three things: speed, technique, and the element of surprise. When Lanfear entered the room, Moghedien already had a complex weave ready to go, playing with it between her fingers, and then quickly flung it at her the moment Lanfear attempted to channel. Lanfear was caught off guard, and in the books, we see multiple examples of where a weaker channeler is able to successfully attack someone stronger when the element of surprise is on their side. Another theory is that this exchange happens in Tel'aran'rhiod, or the world of dreams, as the colors change during their encounter. Many people want to believe that Lanfear is the most talented here, but concerning Moghedien, according to the world of Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time, her greatest asset was her ability within the world of dreams, Tel'aran'rhiod. Within its dimensions, her skills surpassed even Lanfear's. So it's entirely possible Moghedien could have had the upper hand here if this took place in Tel'aran'rhiod. The last theory here is that Moghedien's character is being merged with another one of the Forsaken, who is a more powerful channeler. We will have to wait and see if this actually happens, but I tend to think this won't be the case. Regardless of all the points listed here, Moghedien is an incredibly worthy adversary, and the look on Lanfear's face after the encounter says it all. On to the next question. What happens now that Rand has been proclaimed the Dragon Reborn? To avoid any book spoilers here, let's just talk about what this means for the plot of the television show. Starting at the White Tower, we know this is going to further disrupt Swan Sanche's plan of having Rand be declared, while showing the world he's not a threat by keeping him more or less a prisoner of the White Tower. For anyone who supported this plan, it has potential for the blowback to land at Swan Sanche for not being able to uphold Tower law and achieve the capture of Rand. Another culture who will be greatly affected by this is the Aiel. When we first meet Avienda, she says she is searching for the Kara Karn, or the man that will lead all of the Aiel, their chief of chiefs. But this prophesized leader will have to endure their own hardships in the form of fulfilling particular Aiel prophecies. I'm not going to talk about them here, but it's fairly certain this will entail a large portion of season 3, and it's a fan favorite part of the book series. Looking at the overall landscape, it's fair to assume that the story of what happened in Falm will reach every corner of the globe. So there could be potential for Rand to pick up followers and supporters, but also the rumors could do the opposite and people could fear what he is and what he is capable of. The last thing to point out is that for Rand to be proclaimed the Dragon Reborn, this is also going to be dangerous for him. Now the rest of the Forsaken are loose and the world knows he exists. It's possible we see an influx of dark friends trying to find him, or more interference by the Forsaken. Overall, this means more enemies for Rand and his companions. Unlike Lanfear, Moghedien says she and the other Forsaken will be going after all 5 of the Two Rivers characters. Question number 5 via Greg, who is having some trouble understanding the 3 oaths. For me, the biggest surprise was the reveal that Moiraine is a Black Aza now. She is clearly not bound by the 3 oaths. Never to use the one power as a weapon except against dark friends or shadow spawn, or in the last extreme defense of her life, the life of her warder, or another Aes Sedai. Well, Greg, here's where we have to be careful because the books are not the show, and while sometimes it's hard to define the two, we have to look at multiple factors. Moiraine knows Ishamael has kidnapped Egwene and is luring Rand to Falm. She's also watching the Damane shield someone on that tower. If she believes in her gut that the Shan-Chen are dark friends, I don't see why she can't attack them. Secondly, the success of the Damane on those ships mean that they are a threat to the lives of Rand and every woman who can channel. What do we think will happen if the Shan win? Do we think they are just going to let Moiraine borrow a ship back to Kyrian? Absolutely not. She will be collared like everyone else. Also, the Shan soldiers have already approached, attacking Lan and herself by proxy. We also have to factor in that if Ishamael wins and Rand joins him, the fate of every living human on this planet's lives is in danger, and the end times are here. Apocalypse. In my opinion, the threat of apocalypse or a Shan victory would allow her to kill the women on the boat in defense of her life. Lastly, in season 1, Moiraine was excommunicated from the White Tower and swore an oath on the Oath Rod to simply obey Swan Sanche. So at this point, we can't be entirely sure that Moiraine is held by the Aes Sedai oaths. It's possible she is no longer even considered an Aes Sedai. Maybe possibilities to ponder, but thank you so much, Greg, for reaching out and sharing your confusion. That wraps things up for now. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you back with more of the Wheel of Time content.